Welcome to this week's Spelling Netcast. Make sure that you have your tools ready to go for tonight. We have our glue stick nice and ready. We have our pencil for writing, our zip top bag so we can put our words in once we are finished with them for sorting the rest of the week. And we have our nice scissors, round tip. Make sure that we're all ready with these babies. And of course, your spelling book. And we cannot forget, oops, those are another words, our spelling words. All right, so let's get started by setting up our spelling words by giving them a cut. And it looks like we're doing some Latin roots today. Let's get these all cut. You know, I really do like to cut these up the sides first. Cut down this side, and that makes it a lot easier for us to get some cutting done. Make sure this gets into the trash can and not all over the floor, if you know what I mean. And looks like we've got our top. It looks like we're doing some Latin roots. And the roots we're doing, these are the base words, the root word. It looks like we're doing spect, port, and form. So make sure that you look at those. And we're going to have to look at some words because now we're getting into some interesting root words. And so we've got to do some serious looking at our words. Now I like cutting these into 3 strips and then cutting these out. So I've got 3 words, and they are all set and ready to go. But don't stack them on top like I just did there. What I want you to do is I want you to make sure that you're cutting these out. Don't just say, oh, well, I'll just write down what Mr. Anderson has. No, you really need to cut these out. Cut them out. That's why we're doing this, because you need to do some sorting. I want you to look at all these words. I want you to be able to put them out in front of you, move them around a little bit. Because if you can't move them around, you're not going to learn a whole lot from these words. We need to see some patterns. We need to see things that are similar. We need to be able to look at words a little bit all over the place. But don't get them all over the floor. Keep them within the area that we've got. So what I want you to do is make sure that when I write a word, you write it. When I get a word, I want you to get it, say it, and then write it down, all right? Oh, doggone me. What I like to do first, well, let's do this first. Let's cut this, and we're going to put a little glue stick across the top here, all right? And usually what I do is I don't cut the exemplars, and I did tonight. Man, that's a bummer. Go ahead and write that or zip that across the top there. And then I want you to put these in. And let's go like this. So it was spect. So we're going to put spect right here. We're going to put form over here, and we're going to put port in the middle. And so I usually like to not cut those out until later, because then I can lay them across the top of the paper and then do some writing. Now you'll notice I'm going to leave a little extra space there, and I do that because we're going to write some meanings in here. So let's write spect, S-P-E-C-T, and underline it. Then I'm going to write P-O-R-T, that's an O, port, and then form. And then I'm going to do that. Now, usually I'll cut them, but I already did. And so I'm going to take these, I'm going to put these in our zip top bag for tomorrow night. All right? Now, remember, throughout this whole thing that we're doing, you can stop this at any time and go back, listen, see. If you have to go somewhere, stop, come back and start it again. All right? All right, so we've got Latin roots, we've got spect, port, and form. So we're going to start looking at these words, and we're going to find out what spect, port, and form actually mean. So let's start with, let's start with this one. Inspection. So let's write that one down. Inspection. Inspection. And what I want you to do is I want you to underline the S-P-E-C-T, because that's the root word that we're talking about here. But what I want you to learn this time is, from now on, what we're doing is, in these Latin roots, is we're going to look at some meanings. But what I want you to start doing is I want you to start taking these prefixes, these suffixes, and I want you to start putting them together with some of these words and finding out what they mean. So spect, spectacles. Spectacles. What are spectacles? Spectacles are glasses. So what spect means is to look at. All right, so that's to look at. So a spect means to look at. So on an inspection, this means right here to look at. So what does in mean? In actually means into. Into, to look at? What does shun mean? T-I-O-N. T-I-O-N actually means, it's a function word. What do I mean by that? That means I'm doing something. Okay? So I've got spection, shun, so it's actually the act, which is shun, the act of looking into something. So the act of looking into. How cool is that? So these words actually mean something. So an inspection means something. So I want you to pay attention to all these words that we've got for spect. All right? Because they're the act of looking into something that's inspection. To look at is spect. So I think that is just pretty darn cool. We're actually going to move over to this one. I'm going to come back to spect in a minute, but we're going to look at a couple ports. Port. Let's look at this word right here. Import. Import. When you import something, what do? You bring it in. Well, port actually means to carry. So to carry. And im actually means the same thing as in. That means in or into. So import is to carry into some place. If you import it, you carry it in. So if we carry that in, then what does export mean? Export. Oops, we forgot to underline port. So that means carry. Think about exit. Exit means go out. So X means out. So we are carrying it out. So that is export. That's pretty cool also. But this one's interesting because we've got a word in here that I think is kind of confusing. Let me find it. Where is it? Yeah, oh, there it is. So let's do this one. Important. Important. Okay, there's port. And that's to carry. So how interesting is that? Is to carry, important means to carry what? Means to carry what? Because now we already talked about, is into. So we're carrying it into what? Because if I'm thinking about it, I'm not thinking ant means a small animal. So I'm not carrying it into a small animal. Right? So it's actually a suffix that means it's a personal thing. So it's important, personal. It's serving a meaning. But what I think it could mean is it is actually carrying a weight. So if it's important, it means something important. It's carrying weight. Not as in carrying weight on your back, but it's weighed more than other things in your life. It's carrying something a little more important. But see, you can't use the word important in your definition when you're doing that. When you're looking for definitions, you can't do that. So it's got to be a great significance. To carry, to import, it's of consequence. It's the thing that is the most wanted thing, I guess. It is important. So that's an interesting one. Carrying into your mind, into something. I don't know. But that one's an interesting one. So not all these end up being the words that we think in the meanings to carry. But we can make it work. We can make it work. All right. So let's get to the next word. Let's go to form. Conform. Conform. And if you know, like I knew, conform means to do it the similar or together. So we're doing, con actually means together. And if we're doing stuff together, we're together. What is a form? If something is taking form, it's actually taking shape. And so to conform means that you're shaping things together. You're putting things together. As a class, we're conforming to the same ideas. Not always. But if you conform to be like other people, then you're shaping yourself to be together like them. All right? So, let's see. Let's go back. Let's see if there's any other... There's a word that I want to find. Where is it? Not retrospect. Oh, perspective. This is my second word I want to do on this one. Perspective. So we got spect right there. We've got iv at the end. Iv is a function. It's a function. Okay? Per actually means through. So your perspective means you're looking at it through you. Your perspective. Her perspective. Looking at it through that person's eyes. Isn't that cool? We all have our own perspective on things. And we got to make sure that we're not, I guess you could say, we're not making fun of anybody because of their perspective. Formation. Let's do another form. Formation. And as we learned over here, word we learned right there, shun actually means it's an action. So we're shaping something, formation of something. So if we're forming a class, the formation of the class was done. And that means that it was happening. So that's an action, and that means it's shaping up. All right? Pretty cool words this time. So now what I need you to do is actually go through all the rest of these words that we have spread around, and I need you to write them down underneath spect, port, and form. And I want you to think about what do those words mean around spect. Look up what these suffixes on this side or these prefixes mean on this side, and find out why does that word mean what it means, because these roots, every word has a meaning for some reason. And so I want you to analyze these. Analyze. Do some inspection on these words. Got it? All right. Okay, get your stuff done. Have a good night.